We're live.
Hey guys, how's it going?
I guess that's a little bit of a rhetorical question. You can answer on the chat, but
All zero viewers.
I imagine Byron will be tuning in at least.
I suppose so. So what do we got to talk about this week?
I've got a few things here. Uh, well, we'll kick it off with what happened in Turkey today.
Sorry, that's like way behind. I'm listening to that.
Oh,
So I don't know how that's gonna work when Derek comes on.
I'm not sure either, but
Wait, okay. So I don't know if you might have more of a gist of what's going on in Turkey. From what I gather, is Russia was flying an airplane. Be- Guess was to bomb targets in Syria or Iraq. Flew into Turkey's airspace and they shot. And the Turkish military shot the plane down. One Russian dead,
yeah,
as far
at
as I know.
least. Um, I don't know. There's all these conspiracy theories that
Damn, where's Derek? The conspiracy theories.
that it's probably it could be America that through Turkey, they have bases there and everything like that. So it could be them indirectly interfering with Russian aircrafts flying into Turkey.
So like a proxy move, like a proxy war type thing,
Yeah,
with getting Turkey to attack. So it's not like doesn't look like America attacked Russia sort of thing.
yeah, exactly. And I'm not sure
Why would they want to do that?
why they want to do that. There's always been tensions between Russia and America. I mean, the Cold the Cold War proves that, and they just haven't really fully gotten over that yet.
Yeah, I guess. Well, most of the Western world, you can call it, it's kind of tense with Russia, right? Like NATO,
Yeah,
Western
and,
Europe,
and I'm sure it
European
works both
Union.
ways as well. I'm sure there's a lot of Russians that aren't too fond of the West or America in particular because of a lot of things. There's the whole Arctic debate as well, the Arctic sovereignty debate, which
Mm.
is
Elaborate, yeah, sure.
I don't know. It's just always
So,
been a contested
okay.
area for world powers, especially the U.S. and Russia, and Canada's obviously in there too, having all that Arctic coast. But yeah, it's been an ongoing struggle between the U.S. and Russia on that front, as well as on many other fronts. The war against ISIS in Syria and Iraq, they've taken on different strategies, and uh, it's caused some further tension between those two countries as well.
From at least from Armenia's point of view, the the war on ISIS. Well, from what I've read, at least today from this Turkey stuff, is that Americans believe that the Russians aren't actually there to stop ISIS, and they're there to keep Assad in power in Syria.
Yeah, that's a pretty prominent point of view. Um, yeah, it's obviously very hard to decipher what's actually going on over there with all the different sides and the media coverage that you get. You don't know necessarily how accurate that is, and um, so you kind of have to make your own ideas as to what actually is going on there. But what are your thoughts on that? What do you think happens next?
on the plane.
Hmm.
I think it's just one more thing in the series of escalation of I don't know if you want to call it World War Three, but like escalating a conflict with many players, and I don't know. It's too close to call right now. Like what that leads to, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it could change things in a way, um, in the sense that it might cause coalition forces or
By coalition forces, you mean like American-led coalition, like our the side we're on bombing them right now.
well, like we mentioned, it's kind of complicated, but it might cause countries to work together on another level, because that's I think it is an incident that could have easily been avoided if the Russian government would have been had thorough communication with the Turkish government.
Well, they
And
have, from what I hear, they had communication.
yes, but if they're
It's
working
just,
together
yeah,
and there's a plan, then um, then I think that you know um, it could have been avoided. I don't
you
know.
think there's any will though? Like from what I've heard, Turkey, the president of Turkey told Putin, "You keep doing it, we'll shoot you down," and then Putin just kept doing it.
I don't know. I mean, if that's what happened, then
Like I can't see that being like I can't see from what I know about Putin and the Russians. I can't see that being an event saying, "Okay, now we'll work closer together. You just shot us down."
you might be right. I mean, I really I'm not sure what's going to happen with that, because I don't see Russia declaring all out war against Turkey over this. I mean, Turkey is an American ally, and if they do that, then shit's gonna hit the fan. Excuse my expression, but that's what's gonna happen if they start bombing Turkey over nothing.
Yeah,
Well, not over nothing, but over this.
that's why I see this as more of like a Cold War esque sort of thing. It's like they do little pieces through other countries, proxies like they did in
Yeah,
Afghanistan and Vietnam and other places, as opposed to declaring total war on each other.
yeah, we'll see. I guess
Okay, I'm curious. For some reason, you just brought up the
my
topic of
student.
student loans today, so I'm
Well, I
curious.
was thinking about it for a while. Now,
Yeah,
I'm gonna mention right off the bat that obviously it'd be awesome if I didn't have to pay my student loan. Um, got to go to school for free. But I was thinking about it, and I kind of wonder if there's like a strategy to it,
I mean, other than collecting interest.
other than collecting interest, just to kind of uh, ease, not necessarily ease, but to bring people into working society and to create this humbleness within people. Because if you, I know
So you're
when
saying people in like other countries that don't pay for school aren't humble.
maybe not as humble. Because here's my theory. Here's my theory. Because if you come out of university and you start making fairly good money, like let's say you make 40 grand a year out of university, it's not that uncommon. And then you have all this money all of a sudden that you never had before, and then you just kind of go crazy with it. If you have a student loan, it'll teach you to manage your money, and as you pay off that student loan, you start to have more disposable income, and in the same way, it creates kind of a bit more of an egalitarian society.
Except if your parents are rich enough to pay for your school.
Yeah, except for that.
So would it be like creating a bigger gap since you start off at a disadvantage when other people that come from a rich family don't start off at the same disadvantage?
Not really, because you're creating maybe more of a middle class. Um, because you don't want the extremes either, right? So you want to have this group of people. You don't want everybody to think that they're better than people that didn't go to school just because they have more money than them, right?
Yeah, but if school was more accessible, you wouldn't think more people would go to school
Not
if they didn't know,
necessarily.
if they knew they weren't
No,
going to get out of debt at school with 20, 30 grand in debt.
not necessarily. Look at Aboriginal people who have all these grants and stuff available to them to go to school for free. Not all of them choose to do that.
Okay. Well, I haven't seen the studies, but I would assume more of them do choose to go to
No,
school than they would if they had to pay for their own schooling.
maybe, but it's still a very low percentage of Aboriginal people that choose to.
And there's completely other social factors to that too.
There's completely other social
they
factors.
might not even get out of high
There's
school.
completely
Not,
other social factors to people who are poor and don't go to school as well than just not being able to pay for school. There's mental issues, there's alcoholism, there's other addiction issues in the family.
okay. Okay. I don't really understand how it makes me more humble to be 20 grand in debt for education. Okay.
So you don't get my point at all?
No.
No?
Like you're getting people ready for society, like introducing them that debt is a fact of life, basically getting them.
Well, it depends on what your perspective of money is. If for you the perspective of money is the be all and end all, then like this argument doesn't really apply. But to me, it's more like it's just an easing into that, like into the job market and into figuring out.
What do you mean, though?
Like the
So you're
lack.
saying like they wouldn't go to work if they didn't have debt? Like I wouldn't have got a job if I didn't have debt, is what you're saying?
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that I already explained myself. Like I don't know what you want me to say.
Fair enough. Okay. I don't know. I think education is important, and I don't think we should come out 20, 30, 40 grand in debt for it if we don't have to.
Fair enough. Like I said, I would be completely happy if somebody just wiped out my student loan. But I can kind of see why it would be systematically in place, and it kind of makes sense. It creates it maintains the middle class in the country.
To me, it would seem like it makes you need to work as opposed to seeking out work that you truly want to do, or like starting your own business that you truly want to do. You're already saddled with 20 grand that you have to pay.
Well, that's not necessarily true, because if in Canada now, anyways, if you make less than 25 grand a year, you don't have to pay your student loan
Until you do.
Until you do. So you don't have to work just to pay your debt, right? And there's also always, even before that, there's been repayment assistance, which if you can't pay it, you don't have to, like, if it's not possible for you to pay it.
Yeah, I'm on it. I just keep paying the government interest.
They pay my interest.
I pay them $90. It's none of it off the capital, all interest.
I mean, it's all principal. Are you sure?
Yeah, it doesn't go down. I've been on it for a year. My loan hasn't gone down. I just pay the interest. That's it. Keeps me floating. I'm gonna start paying soon there, but yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. Like to me, it makes a bit of sense. It's like obviously it sucks paying debt, but systematically, policy wise, in a larger scale of things, kind of way, it makes some sense.
Okay, there you have it. What do you guys think?
All our 2 viewers this evening.
I'd like to know who the second one is.
Probably Derek.
Yeah, but there's always a second one. I think it's always Derek. Yeah.
Maybe.
I know Rectangle's there. Okay. So student loans, that was the thing you had on your agenda. We had the turkey thing. Yeah, let's just throw it out to the crowd for a sec. I kind of want to talk to Derek about these two things. Rectangle. Anyone else?
Let's see
Questions?
what's going on
This
there.
is probably gonna wait too.
We haven't done this in a while. What's going on in Timmins?
Boy,
Kiss Timmins. Porcupine Health Unit looking for answers to solve high teen pregnancy rate.
okay. What else would I seen today? Oh yeah. Okay, click on this article. Actually, I saw an article. It was related to something we talked to. I think 2-3 episodes back. So in Prince Edward Island, those new community mailboxes, the program that got stopped a few weeks ago to implement community mailboxes everywhere instead of having mailboxes. It's a bit of delay. Yeah, I know. I tried to listen to it earlier, Byron, and got a little bit of a delay. So I don't know how that's going to work when Derek shows up. Yeah, so some of these mailboxes were just frozen shut when people went to go get their mail in PEI today. Had insult to injury. It's probably a good thing they stopped rolling these things out, eh?
Oh, Canada. That's crazy.
They're taking their keys and trying to put them in and fidgeting and wondering what the heck is going on.
Residents had been using the boxes for a month without issue, but Monday's wet conditions combined with frigid temperatures overnight left some customers frozen out. Interesting.
Canada Post is taking the blame.
Okay, so the new Liberal government met with the premiers of all the provinces to discuss climate change. And also, the new NDP government in Alberta has introduced a cap and trade system, price on carbon starting in 2017.
Well, those are two different things, aren't they?
No.
Like a price on car. Okay, so cap and trade is like you have a certain amount of pollution you can do as a company, and then you can trade that, right?
You still have to pay for permits to be able to pollute.
Okay, so you probably understand it better than me.
Well, you buy these permits that allow you to pollute a certain amount, and then you can trade them with other companies.
Okay, yeah, that's what we did here too, right? In conjunction with like California or something in Ontario, right?
I'm not sure if you can about California, about any deal with California or anything like that. But yeah, we have a cap and trade system here as well.
I read Kathleen Wynne's uh, her climate change plan was kind of skimpy on the details so far. Basically, that they're gonna have a 5-year plan in 2016, and every 5 years after that, that environment is gonna be part of all their decisions. Like nothing concrete, right?
Well, I think they've had a plan in place for a while.
But she put one out today. There wasn't really much of a plan there, but
Okay.
it was just kind of like a guideline.
Well, we'll see what happens after Paris. There's going to be another first ministers meeting shortly after, where they're going to discuss how to achieve the climate goals that they're going to set out.
Yeah, they're gonna have to set climate goals first before they discuss what how to
Yeah,
achieve
well,
them.
something will get worked out in Paris. Whether it's climate goals set out at the international level, or whether Canada just discusses within its delegation to figure out what we're going to do here, I'm fairly certain that it'll be decided in Paris.
I heard an interesting point of view today. It was by someone pessimistic about us reaching a deal that would actually reach a goal of like 2 degrees of warming. They said they don't think it's gonna happen, and not because of not necessarily the government's fault, but because the will of the people just isn't there. People aren't willing change their way of life. They don't care that much, basically. Like they're not willing to stop driving or eat less beef, like raise less cattle, shit like that. So he thinks it was the guy from the Beaverton actually. Um, so he thinks the will of the people is not big enough, and then the will of the government is only based on the will of the people.
Hasn't that been the argument, the age-old argument, though?
What?
That the people just aren't gonna quit, like polluting that much. And everybody's like, "Oh
Yeah, that we're
well,
not going to reach the deadlines. Exactly. That people are just
it's not
going to
me."
give up, basically.
But it doesn't. Like, here's the thing: it's not individual people either, though. In my opinion, it's larger corporations. If the decisions are made at the larger corporate level, then like it's not on a lot of different things, anyways. Like if there becomes a willingness by a car company to produce a decent electric car at a decent price, like Tesla, and if that actually comes true,
well, the
then
people are still the people still have a choice in that, right? They can either publicly advocate, they can not buy cars, they could.
yeah, but they can't choose for Gold Corp to not produce however many ounces of gold and pollution at their mines here in town.
True.
Or like all sorts of other industry, even the beef industry.
Well, you can eat less meat. You can eat less beef in general.
Yeah. I don't think that's the problem.
Okay, well, I disagree with you. That's uh, a big portion of the greenhouse gas emission is actually methane, and it's at least close to the transportation sector.
Yeah, but like, there's no way that that's bigger than fucking cars and all the friggin' pollutants.
Okay, look at the.
I know it has an impact. Hey, but even if it does, if they feed those animals differently, wouldn't that change the methane emissions as well? But wouldn't that be?
I don't think so. Like deforestation, the biggest cause of deforestation is agriculture, right? We need the trees to actually treat the CO2 in the atmosphere. Just the gas itself, it has
the biggest cause of deforestation is agriculture.
Yes. Look it up.
What about building shit?
It's agriculture, straight up in the world. Look at why the Amazon's going down. It's agriculture, animal agriculture.
I don't believe you on that one, so I'll do my research. But
okay, you can write me a nice blog article about it.
Well, maybe I'll actually write a research paper on this one.
Okay.
But
okay, that doesn't go change the fact. Like, I'm not saying that I'm like better or whatever. That doesn't change the fact that like people, like the general behavior and lifestyles of people are probably going to have to change a little bit, including cars.
Hey man, I don't
like you're the one that's been telling me that even if we have solar panels and electric cars, it still takes resources to build them.
It does.
Right? So like,
I don't get what your point is.
No, I'm just saying that I thought it was interesting that the point of view is like the point of view that the will of the people has to be a big proponent and can't just, and like the behavior of people, we can't just like ask our government or expect corporations to do what's better than us. Corporations that knew climate change was a problem in the 60s.
Yeah, but then that brings up the whole like, how do corporations impact the few people, and like the whole think tank thing where they figure out ways to make people think that they can't impact climate change positively or negatively or either way. So really, to me, it still lies with the corporations.
Okay.
To take a moral stand.
But
and the governments.
I don't know if you could ever trust a corporation to take a moral stand.
There are some corporations that have taken a moral stand. We talked about one last week.
Yeah, that's an individual player. But to me, like we've given the corporations this power, right? Like especially in the United States, the laws that give them the the rights of a person, right? We've given them the ability to buy each other. We've given them the ability to defend themselves in court, never to go to jail, to basically be above the law. We're signing contracts with other countries that give them more power. And you're just going to expect that they take the moral high ground.
I don't know. You have a very, very cynical perspective of corporations. There is a lot of uh, corporations that do wrong in the world. There's some that do good for sure. There's also non-governmental organizations that have helped with stuff like this, with climate change, with dealing with climate change, and governments. When there's a will of the governments, it also definitely helps. And I think we're seeing that. We're starting to see that here in Canada with the new government, and
Wow,
about
I haven't seen
80%.
anything.
About 80% of Canadians live in jurisdictions where there's a price on carbon.
Okay.
That's pretty huge.
Okay. Well, we'll see if it actually does anything because right now we're still not on pace to hit our targets or to hit the scientifically agreed on targets.
I'm just saying, like, it's been a bit downplayed because of the administration we had before, the actual positive steps that have been taken towards fighting climate change in this country.
All right. Well, I guess we'll wait till we actually have anything from them other than saying they're going to meet the goals they don't have yet. All right. That's all I have on the climate agenda today.
Saying don't meet the goals they don't have to.
Well, that's what you told me. They're going to come up with goals and then they're going to meet them. They don't have goals.
Well, they're aware of the scientific consensus of what needs to happen, and they're going to work towards achieving those goals. They're going to have to figure out a way of how they're going to reach those goals, and that's probably more of what they're going to discuss rather than what the goals are, because the government has spoken out and said that they acknowledge those goals that were set, that are agreed upon by scientists. That's what they're going to work towards. But how to reach those goals is probably going to be a bigger topic of discussion rather than what the goals are.
Okay. All right, all right, all right. What's next on the docket? Other than Canada Post, what else is going on in the world today? Let's check CBC News. Whoa. Yeah, I guess because we're streaming. Really.
Yeah. Let's check the old Twitter. Derek should be joining us shortly.
Yeah, then we can resume our a bit of our debate about gun control and talk about the refugee plan a little bit. Timmins Police, my best friends. Canadian Syrian refugee plan limited to women, children, and families. Yes, we backed out of Kyoto under Harper. I don't think Kyoto really accomplished much, though.
Yeah, like, that's true. The Harper government didn't really do anything to fight climate change. I should have clarified that it was individual provinces that took steps uh, to combat it, and that's what I mean that it was underplayed sort of thing. Um, because the Harper government didn't really discuss the issue of climate change at all. They, other than when they were denying it, in my opinion.
Okay, wait. So you said Alberta just put a price on carbon.
Hmm.
So
That sets a whole new precedent.
that would seem to me like that's just the beginning, or not the beginning, but it's another nail in the coffin of the oil sands. I mean, like, oil's already down at $40 a barrel.
Oil goes up and down though.
Yeah, and now it's so you think it's actually going to go back up to 120
It'll go back up. I don't know about
to where,
120,
or
but
to 90
at
or
least
wherever it's
80 or 90
profitable
or
for
whatever.
you, and then that's going to bring the price of it being profitable for them higher because it's going to cost them more money.
Yeah, well, so be it. I mean, like,
Well, I'm not complaining about it. I think that's awesome. I don't think we can meet our targets with the tar sands expanding. I don't think we can meet any targets. Like we could have 9 green provinces and still.
yeah, I mean, so I like it's that's why it's a
Well,
huge
for
step.
carbon, anyways.
That's why it's a huge step forward, because like Alberta has been like I can't find the word, but the sort of nail in the coffin for Canada's climate change plans, like the oil sands. That's what's tarnished the international reputation of Canada when it comes to climate change. And the fact that the government of that province has agreed to fight to tackle this problem is a huge step forward. Not only for not only for Alberta, not only for Canada, but for the world. Fight climate change.
All right. I guess since we continue to talk about the subject, you think there's going to be anything in the Paris talks about helping countries in the global south, the ones that are more affected by climate change, like so with us, and other Western countries, the ones that have been the biggest polluters and the ones that have brought on climate change, Canada, United States, etc., sending them support and helping them deal with the actual consequences that are happening right now.
Do you mean that? Do you think there will be more humanitarian aid to those countries?
Yeah, the guys that are dealing with droughts and floods.
Well, there's already a lot of humanitarian aid that goes to those countries. I don't think.
But specifically in this context to climate-related issues.
No, I don't see that happening.
Like us taking a share of blame for what's going on. And
there's no causal link. Like I know that it leans towards.
I think that's bullshit, straight up.
A lot of things could happen that could cause that. Like there's like the way the friggin' planet turns around the sun and stuff. It could cause a change in drought patterns and the way that.
So you don't think anything that's going on?
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that because it's not able to be proven that there's a causal link between that.
So
there's
plausible
no way,
deniability.
There's no way that governments are going to.
What about taking the moral high ground? What about, so we're gonna assume the companies take moral high ground?
If there's deaths and stuff, obviously governments are going to send humanitarian aid to tackle that. Yeah, that's just standard procedure for Western governments. You asked me if I think that there's going to be specific humanitarian aid because of climate change. No,
Yeah, I'm asking
I'm
you if
not.
we're gonna clean up our own mess.
I don't think that you're going to see the Prime Minister of Canada or the President of the United States say, "Oh, because of climate change, there's this hurricane
There's
in God
generally
knows
more
where."
hurricanes because of climate change. There's generally more
Yeah,
hurricanes. There's generally more
yeah.
droughts.
But I don't think you're going to see somebody say that because this hurricane caused by climate change, we're going to go here.
No,
They're
no,
going to
I'm
say
not
this
saying to a
hurricane,
specific event.
this
I'm not saying to a
hurricane,
specific event.
there's been deaths because of this. Yes, we're going to send humanitarian aid, but they're not going to specify that it's caused by climate change.
And not just humanitarian aid, like aid in building and helping them with technology and money to build renewable energy so they don't have to develop in coal
You might
or
see
we're just gonna
that.
keep selling them coal.
You might see that. I mean, like if you're looking at, I know you said global south, but up and coming economies like China and India, they might figure it out before us.
Yeah, well, like China's still putting up coal plants at a pretty decent rate. I don't know about India,
but they might still figure it out and switch it up. Like when some of those countries, when they get into motion with their plans, they get stuff done pretty fast.
Yeah, well, we talked about this too already. That Chinese cities are actually seeing like crazy consequences of like maybe not even generally climate change, but like specifically the specific effects of the plants that they put out, like the coal plants and stuff. They got smog. They got kids out in the streets with masks. Not whether I don't know whether that changes things or they just accept it as a day as a.
Another thing that you might see too is the United Nations Committee on Climate Change begin to play more of a part in actually figuring out the world problems. I think that Canada being away from the United Nations kind of may have actually harmed that because that's the kind of initiative that Canadian governments have typically led, um, or I don't know specifically climate change, but any sort of humanitarian issue like that, Canadian governments have been known to take the lead on those committees, and um, so we might see that in a couple of years that commission on climate change begins to actually start taking more concrete actions and moving forward from where we are now. So we haven't really heard much from the United Nations Commission for Climate Change in the last couple of years.
I'd have to look into that. If we have, it's been largely ignored, anyways. Right. Well, if we have, it's just studies that haven't been, like you said, not much action. Well, and none of these, like Kyoto, Copenhagen, none of these have actually produced any binding agreements. But
and it could be kind of government censorship of what we get access to as well.
So the American government censored it too. So I got plenty of access to American media.
It's possible. Like, you never know. Like, I'm not saying necessarily that's what happened, but usually when a big study comes out like that about climate change or about whatever, anything like that, you tend to hear about it.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm just hoping that this actually leads to something like it's not just another show like their other ones were.
Yeah, we'll see.
To me, what I'd like to see, well, I don't think the targets are going to be what we need to be, but whatever the targets are, I'd like to see actual like consequences for not following through a binding agreement.
See, here's the thing. Here's where I don't understand you, is for things like that, there can be binding agreements that can be dealt with by who? Who would enforce that?
See, I don't know.
So presumably some sort of international body, right?
Yeah. Sure.
But when it comes to trade, it can't be overseen by
that's not an international body. That's a corporate body.
It's an international body.
That's weird.
Well, it's not a corporation that's there.
It's multiple.
No, it's just there's representatives from governments in every country that sign those agreements. There might be corporate people there as well, but it's not just corporate people. It's the same sort of committee or group of people that would regulate enforcement of climate change.
Okay, then what's the point? What's the point in going there and shaking hands and talking a big talk if we don't have to follow what we say anyways? Like, what's the point of Kyoto and Copenhagen? Other than the pomp and circumstance.
They're well-intentioned. Like, I'm not disagreeing with you. I think there should be government oversight.
And it's not just government oversight that I have a problem with the free trade agreements.
Like, if it wasn't for free trade agreements, you know how much of the stuff that's in this house wouldn't be here?
I doubt it. Okay. We still traded with other countries before NAFTA. We just got a free trade agreement with China. The stuff I buy still says made in China, and it did before that. It did before the Harper government signed a deal with China.
We still had some sort of trade agreement with China. They just redid it. They revamped it. Like, before free trade, it wasn't as common. Or even before NAFTA, you couldn't go to the States as easily as you can now.
It's harder now.
Not harder than before NAFTA.
Now I need a passport. I didn't need a passport before.
Yeah, but before NAFTA, you needed a passport, and you needed, like, it was, you can have an enhanced driver's license.
Yeah, I'm from Ontario.
Hey, there he is.
So, late, but here. Yes, ladies and
gentlemen. Second, we can't hear you.
Look at you guys have the whole studio going?
Oh, I thought you was outside.
No.
Okay, we'll shut this one off because it's going to be, I don't know where your mouth is.
I got the dogs in the background going here, but that's about it.
Screens over here.
All right, there you go.
Got the whole studio going?
Yeah. How's it going, Derek?
Not bad. How about you, gentlemen? I like the afro, sir. I haven't seen you in a while.
Thanks, man. Thanks. Beard's still rocking, longer than ever.
Yeah, well, you got to keep growing that beard, man.
Exactly.
So for those of you who don't know, this is Derek. He's a former coworker of my brother's.
Yeah, it's like
anyways, you want to
introduce myself. So it's Derek Monjo, or you could just call me the bearded wonder. That's fine by me. I guess we're here to discuss a little bit of last week's episode.
Yeah, we saved the best for last.
So I did take time and I did a little reply to your blog postings, which I found very interesting. Sam, do you want to maybe kind of just refresh us on your standing on the whole situation of arming police officers with arming them more?
Not more. I never said more. I just think that it's perfectly acceptable for police officers to have a handgun on them at all times when they're on duty, of course. Just for safety reasons, if something were to happen, you don't want them to have to run back to the cop shop just to get a gun to protect themselves. But like I said, I don't think that militarizing the police force more than, other than tactical units, I don't think that they need to be more armed than that.
Right. Okay. So Mahenda, so Sam just reiterated his point here. What was your standing again? You want to reiterate your point on the whole situation?
Sure. I just basically I think it's unnecessary and it leads to abuses of power by police that should be using more time learning social skills and actually dealing with social situations. I mean, you should, when you see an officer of the peace, you should be approachable. You should be able to come talk to him. It shouldn't be about a weapon and a bulletproof vest to me, especially in an area like here where gun violence isn't actually an issue.
You see, to me, I don't have a problem going to talk to a police officer, even if he has a bulletproof vest and a gun. If it's just like to talk to, like I run into them all the time downtown, and like I'll say hi to them or whatever, like have a conversation about the weather. Like it's not.
And I guess in Timmins, to be honest, so anybody who's watching out there, or who's going to watch later on, Timmins is fairly isolated as far as, I mean, we don't have that culture where there's a big, there's a big problem with police officers in general, right? Like we don't have like police shootings all the time, although we have, and we've seen it more over the past couple of years where there has been abuse of powers as far as police officers in Timmins. And I don't know if it's because we're hearing about it more now that we have social media and Facebook and stuff, and now we hear about it. It's everywhere. So, but definitely we've been isolated as far as that goes. Like, but in bigger centers, and not just in the United States either. We always go back to the United States, I think, when we use these examples. But even in Toronto, when that one young lad, he got on the subway there, and he was obviously having some kind of mental issues and stuff, and he had a knife or whatever, and they killed that guy, and that was in Toronto.
Oh yeah, I saw that. I don't know if you didn't see the video, but like, yeah, I think he might have been on. I don't know what the toxicology came out or whatever.
Yeah.
He emptied the bus out, so he was alone on the bus. Or was it a subway?
It was a subway. It was like a streetcar, I do believe.
Streetcar, yeah.
A streetcar. So he was alone on the streetcar at the front door, and the cops had the guns at him, right? And it looked like he was backing away from what I saw, and then the cop just like unloaded his clip into him.
Right. Yeah, and I mean that happened. You know what I mean? So it's the bigger centers definitely see it more. And I think when you're in a center where something's like that's happened, you don't feel it to be like a situation where maybe you want to go get help from a police officer, especially if you're having troubles and you're under, like, especially, whether you're addicted to a substance or not, or, you come from a certain background or from a certain, you're just like, I mean, you're like, you don't feel like they're there to help, So my thing was, is if every officer has a firearm to protect themselves, depending on the situation, or protect somebody else, right? Now, which is fine, okay, but now everybody should be able to protect themselves, right? And everybody should have the right to protect themselves in that same manner, because we can't assume that police officers are going to be everywhere when we need them. I mean, there's only X amount of police officers for X amount of population. You're never going to have a 1-to-1 ratio. That's just impossible, right? Because you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's never going to happen.
You wouldn't want that either.
No, you wouldn't, because that would be like pretty much a 100% police state, right? I mean, there would just be all kinds of logistical problems with that. So that means that if we're going to give every police officer a gun, first off, the citizens should have the same right to have a firearm to protect themselves. And I mean I want proper training, and I want proper screening, and I mean proper, and I mean more not under the model that Switzerland does. You know what I mean? And if you guys want to look up some stuff on Switzerland has a lower rate of gun ownership than the United States, but I'm pretty sure it's slightly higher than Canada. But they're all trained from the ages of 20 to 30. They're trained under the Swedish militia, and they're allowed to have semi-automatic guns. So similar to your we'll use one like Like, so an AK-47 is a fully automatic weapon, but basically it's what they have is weapons like that, but they're semi-automatic, right? So we're not talking about handguns. These are fair-sized guns that if somebody was to shoot you with that, you would, you know what I mean? But they're properly trained. Their crime rate is their murder rate with guns is not high at all.
So I have a question about that. Is this like a government training that's paid for by taxpayer money, or?
Yeah, you have no choice. You have to be part of the militia. You have no choice. And when you're part of the militia, you actually you have to keep your gun at your house.
Yeah, so correct me if I'm wrong, but like some people actually have like sniper rifles in their attics.
Oh, you can have all kinds of stuff, but they actually issue you a gun, which is it's actually I think it's a SIG 500, so an SG 500. It's a military gun. After you're out of the militia, you're allowed to keep your gun, but then it's converted to a semi-automatic. While you're in the militia, it's a fully automatic weapon. So just to kind of like clarify on that, so your fully automatic is you pull the trigger and it will, as long as you're holding the trigger down, it's going to empty the clip, right? A semi-automatic is as fast as you can pull the trigger, the bullets will come out, right? So that's basically the difference there. So the other thing is my big concern is now we're arming these officers, and even in today's standards, we're arming these officers, and they don't have the proper training. Because a good marksman, a good somebody who's trained properly with his weapon, and can precisely put a bullet or right into somebody without killing them, but definitely rendering them to the point where they cannot harm the police officer or somebody in their surroundings. So if somebody has a knife, for example, a bullet to the shoulder, right? So to the shoulder area right here is not a kill shot. He might not be able to use his arm after, but he's not dead. You know what I mean? You're going like, well, but you know what I mean? Emptying 7 bullets into somebody, that's probably going to end their lives.
But my question, like, to me, that's not necessarily a lack of training. It's just kind of ignorance by the part of the officer and not caring. Because they do have training. There is police, like extensive police training. You have to go to college, and then there's like outside of college you have to go to police
academy.
Yeah. So they're trained. They're just.
I think it's ongoing training, right? Ongoing training, because when you're really comfortable with your weapon, and then you're put into that situation, maybe it is like what you're saying. Maybe it is just ignorance and kind of like just not a care, but when you're really comfortable with your weapon and ongoing training, right? So they go through all that when they start, and after that you kind of get into the groove of the job and everything else, and you kind of start going like, you're not doing you're not following up, right? So constant training is like I don't have to talk to you about walking. You can walk and talk on your cell phone. You don't have to think about walking. So if you're trained really good with your weapon, when you're in that situation where you got to think about 10 other things, you're not worrying about, where am I going to put the shot? Can I do this shot? Or if what am I going to do if he gets up? Well, no, because you feel comfortable to the point where you can put that shot where it's going to stop somebody.
That's what I was going to mention. Like, isn't there some like it's not all about knowing how to use a gun or not? Like in that example you said with the streetcar, there's some sort of situational awareness, right? That you should be aware and know what's going on, and not like, I don't know what you're thinking of when you unload 7 shots into somebody that has a knife and is alone on a streetcar.
The only thing I can think of is like maybe they're just they're not trained in those situations where you got that adrenaline rushing. Like when you're a hunter, before you take that shot, you know what I mean, and you're going to kill that animal, you've got tons of adrenaline. Sometimes after, you don't even remember taking the shot because you had so much adrenaline. But as you do more and more of that, you become more aware of what's going on in the situation. So, but I mean, these are the people that we're putting our lives in their hands. You know what I mean? And I think that it wouldn't be a bad thing to disarm some of them and take them back to where it's about shaking hands and where it's about bringing that divide that we're at. We're at this huge divide nowadays. That's the problem. There's this huge divide between, the government and the people in charge, and then the people that have to follow the rules. And then on that, you layer another whole layer of of people like abuse of power. So now you got this divide. You have an abuse of power, and then you have everybody else. Like there's we're really everything's about divides now. Like everything. And that's the way the media shoots it. We have you have the police on one side, which is the authority, and now they want you. They're trying to separate us via class of how much money you make. So now everybody's divided, but I have a mistrust of the police force, but that's my own thing. I'm not trying to get anybody to make a judgment on that. I try not to judge them on that, but it's in the back of my head for sure. And you know what I mean? Like that can't be, because I have my son, and they're like, what am I supposed to tell him? Like, yeah, you know what I mean? If something's going wrong, you have to trust the police. But in the back of my head, I'm like, I don't know. Do I want, like, I don't know. Like, what do I say? You know what I mean? That's.
Well, a big thing of what started this conversation actually was like, not this weekend, the weekend before, we were out at the bar at the Sports Gal, and you look back and there's 3 officers or whatever. So Byron's getting pissed off about it, and I went to the bathroom and came back out, and like I guess like you, based on personal experience and the media or whatever, I have a mistrust for the police and sometimes even feel intimidated in their presence. So I come out of the bathroom and they're standing there, and I'm actually nervous. I'm trying not to screw up. I'm trying not to, like when these people should be there, like I should feel like safe in their presence, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, like I don't think they were there to like. I think they were there more for like drugs and stuff going on like that. So I do get where you're coming from with the whole should I trust him? Shouldn't I trust him? Kind of thing. I get your point on that one. Because there's been a lot, especially in the media, there's been a lot of talk about that, and that's how the debate's been framed in the media. And I think that doesn't really help the situation. I think that the media might be making it worse in some cases than it actually is.
Okay. Yeah, I got a good question. Okay, Eric, I've never owned a gun. The biggest thing I've shot is a 22, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is part of, I guess, how I feel about the gun thing with cops. Do you feel like when you have a gun on you or in your hand, like, do you feel like a certain sense of power?
Well, so there's so let's say we'll talk about a handgun, right? So, so especially like some people will feel a certain sense of power, but to me, it's a certain sense of security, right? So because I don't know what's going on out there. We're in Timmins, yeah, not much crazy stuff happens, but as soon as you have like a family and somebody else to worry about, you would do anything to protect those people. Okay, like when I was before that, I did all kinds of crazy stuff, went everywhere, didn't matter. I only had to get myself out of it. Okay, so but now when you go and you're like, you have to protect somebody else, that sense of security, that goes a long way. And I think if you start to see it as a sense of power, I think, and if you know what I mean, and I think that's where there becomes a problem. It's not about the power that it hands you. It's about the security that it hands you. And I think anybody who, and I think officers to a certain extent, maybe it's not just the gun, but the whole thing. And what they put out is that I'm in charge, and it is a sense of power. Like,
I've seen a change in people that go through police academy and police programs, and in some people that does actually happen.
Well, exactly. In some people, I think that is just like any other profession. People go into it for the right reasons, and sometimes they come out a different person, and they're doing it for a different reason. But I do think there are good people in policing, and I think that there are some police officers that are really there for the better of the people. There's obviously bad apples. We've seen it all over the place in the States. I don't think that it's the majority of the police force.
I think we're working in a bad system right now, and I think that's the problem. I think this, as much as it's the system that's broken, and maybe not the people, because if you can put as many good people in a bad system, and you still have a bad system until that system becomes fixed, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's a top down hierarchy. So you know what I mean? There's a boss at the top, and everybody else works for him, and that's the way it kind of rolls, right? So it's a broken system. And you're not going to fix it, and you're not going to fix them by giving them more arms, because we've definitely seen that in the States. They're militarizing to the beyond anything. Like it's practically the military, the police now. You know what I mean? And they're just widening that gap. I think we need to tear down the system, and I don't think it's just the law enforcement system. I think that we gotta look at it as a big picture of how we're building communities. Right? We're not building communities anymore. That's not what we're doing. You know what I mean? There's people out there trying to, but we're definitely not building communities anymore. We're building, you know what I mean? We're building corporations. Like we're treating everything like it's a corporation, right? So that's what it is. It's like, you know, it's a big money making thing, and I mean, so basically, when you look at policing, the job is to take people off the streets and put them in jails. That's a business. We're starting to privatize jails in Canada now. You know what I mean? Well, Harper did. I don't know. I'm not. Nobody can really speak on what the Liberal Party is going to do right now. I know a lot of my gun friends and sportsmen and stuff, like, you know, guys who do it for sport, definitely have a bad taste with the Liberal government. I don't know. What's that?
Is it the gun registry?
Well, if he does everything he said he was going to do, it's not going to go over very well. I know there's a lot of gun groups right now that are actually banding together to get some money together to get some lobbying groups set up, because he was talking about like really restricting firearm laws and really clamping down on what you could have as rifles. And we're not even talking about handguns, mostly rifles and stuff. And as far as the sport goes, it was pretty unfair or whatnot. So that's how I'm going to say. I'm leaving it kind of open to Mr. Trudeau to make the right calls.
His will from a top down.
Like I definitely disagree with the whole idea of privatized prisons. I think the United States has kind of proven that doesn't work. You're creating the system that's just based on putting people in prison.
That's right.
And based on profit, and that's fundamentally wrong. So
yeah, and that's why I say you can't just say we're going to fix the police force, because you can't just fix the police force if you don't fix the privatized prisons, because that's a business.
Yeah, no.
So it's a wide problem. Then let's pull in. I mean, the drug war. You know how many people that employs?
Yeah.
Huge amounts.
Enforcement. Wait, the biggest arrests we see in Timmins basically are drug busts, right?
Has it worked? What's it been? 40 years? 40 years of we're fighting.
Yeah, about that. I think it was Reagan.
Well,
yeah.
We'll see what happens if Trudeau legalizes marijuana.
That's a start. You know what I mean? I'm going to go out on a limb, and people are going to say, "Oh, you're being extreme about it," but I say, let's decriminalize all drugs.
There's a country where they did that, and it actually worked. I can't put my finger on the name of the country right now, but they decriminalized.
I know what you're talking about, and I think it's one of the the southern
Yeah.
Ecuador or something like that.
Like that. Portugal
Yeah.
or something. And it, like crime has obviously went down and quality of life has went up. So
Let's treat it like a medical issue. Let's treat it like a dependence. Let's not make criminals of drug addicts, because it doesn't work.
no,
We've
it
been
doesn't.
busting down doors, serving warrants for how long?
Sending military-like organizations to foreign countries, and
Yeah, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. So there you go. So now we got the privatized prisons. That doesn't work.
No.
The whole drug war,
Drugs.
arresting people because of drugs, doesn't work. We need to help those people. So that we'll put less people in jail. Then your police officers become more approachable.
Yeah.
Because instead of I'm going to catch you and I'm going to put you in jail because you're a drug addict, it's I'm going to help you and I'm going to get you some help.
Yeah.
that.
That's a good note to end it on. We're past our 9 o'clock.
Sounds good, gentlemen.
Yeah, I just wanted to talk to Derek since I haven't talked to him for a while. I just want to know what you think about maybe even just maybe our refugee thing, but like the whole situation going on right now.
Oh, I'm very controversial on that one. I'm going to give you a quick wrap up. Here we go. We won't take up too much more time. Here it is. What's the budget on the refugee situation? I think they were looking at something in the neighborhood of what, $2 billion over the next 2 years or something like that.
2.5, I think, or something.
Yeah. Okay. So we got $2.5 billion. I don't know where we're finding that money, but since we found it, it's a tough decision, because if you put me in that place, this is how I would look at it. I say I got $2.5 billion. I can help the veterans, the homeless, the seniors, the Indigenous people of Canada, or I can bring in some refugees. I know Byron's watching out there and he's grinding his teeth because we've had it out a couple times. So here's the deal. So that's my decision. I'm not going to pick the refugees. I'm sorry. I understand that people say you got to spend money to make money. And in the past, when we brought in refugees from other countries, Kosovo, for example, our economy did better. We got to fix our house first. We got to fix our problems in Canada and help our people. And then we can go out and help other people. It's really cool to be popular for helping people, but it's better to have your house running in order first, and then let's go out and make friends. I'm not saying it's not a worthy cause or whatnot. I'm just saying I want to help the people here first. That's my stance on that one.
My rebuttal to that would be that those are completely different pools of money, and there's already like a lot of money that are going towards homeless programs and veterans.
I still see a lot of homeless people out on the street. I still see my veterans out there, and I still see a lot of problems with the Indigenous people, and I still see a lot of problems with the seniors. Let's fix our house first.
I see where you're coming from, but I disagree.
Miranda?
Well, you know what? I was in Sam's boat for a long time, and I still kind of am. But yeah, I have to agree with some of your points, because my mom's retired on disability, and she has a hard ass time getting any kind of health care, getting anything done for her, So it's kind of tough. It's a kind of a tough call to make. It's not an
easy one, but I gotta fix my house first. I gotta take care of what's going on here first, and then I'll go help some other people. You know what I mean?
What if some of these Syrian refugees are skilled professionals who can help build the framework for the problems that we need to fix in this country?
The problem with that is it sounds like, and don't quote me on it, I might be wrong, but from what I've read is there's a year timeline before they can even be actually starting to help. Do we have some homeless people on the street that if we put them in the right place, they can help us? Probably. I know we got a lot of veterans out there. And
it would take a long time to get some of those homeless people trained to.
Will it take a year? I know my veterans are trained, and I know they need some help, and I know they're willing to go to work. You know what I mean? I didn't agree with every war they went and fought, but they fought it because we asked them to go. And now they're back, and now we own that. that's a big one, guys. That's a heartfelt. You know what I mean? Like we sent some guys out there to do some nasty stuff, and it was probably not for all the right reasons. You got to help those guys out, man. It's not an easy decision, but and like I said, my point of view was controversial, but that's what I got.
I don't think Sam's gonna agree on you. Okay, one last thing.
One last one.
Turkey, Russia, jet. What do you think?
Okay, here it is. Turkey's got a lot of American bases in Turkey. It is a crazy, crazy plan. If you're Turkey right now, who's in a lot of turmoil, who's having a lot of problems with the upsets of their government, why would you shoot down a Russian jet when the Russian army is going to come down on your head? The only reason that happened is because Putin turned public opinion around, because he went into Syria and he kicked some serious ass, and he did some good work that couldn't be done by anybody else. So here we go. Conspiracy theory number one. That was shot down by Americans in a Turkish jet. By the way, the Turkish jet,
that's something you and Sam agree on here.
The Turkish jet was an F-16 American-made plane. That's what I got. It's conspiracy theory. I just read 3 articles before coming on about that. That's what I got. It doesn't make sense. Why would Turkey make that move? Why?
Okay, can I ask you the same question that I asked Sam? Why would America do it? Because
America needs to turn the spotlight back on them. They're going to come in as the saviors, as whoa, Russia, because Russia's got to retaliate. Russia has to retaliate. Russia's got to do something, whether it's financially or militarily. So now this is big United States coming in again, swooping in. We're going to have some kind of, we're going to calm everybody down. We're going to get some agreements going, or maybe we're going to talk to Russia to back down. There was a big turn. Russia's doing really well in Syria. You know what I mean? They're doing it, and maybe that's not the way that we want them to do it. But you know what? They're taking a hit out of ISIS, and so they're doing something there, and they needed to spin that spotlight. It just doesn't make sense. Turkey.
What about Assad? Are they for or pro or against Assad?
Russia?
Yeah.
Oh, they're pro. Yeah, they're pro. Yeah, no, they're pro, 100%.
So then my question becomes, then are they doing good work in Syria if they're pro-Assad, who's been like killing his own population with chemical weapons?
No proof of that.
No proof of that.
And we also haven't really done much to hinder Assad's cause either, as a Western country. So
we haven't
doing a good job there.
We haven't done anything actually.
You know what I mean? We didn't here's the bottom line. The CIA put ISIS in place to conspiracy theory number 2. The CIA put ISIS in place to upset the Assad regime, and it turned on its head. They went into Iraq, grabbed some weapons. They're probably still, you know what I mean? There's still weapons drops happening that are probably questionable. Got turned on its head, man, and now it's not like it didn't happen. Charlie Wilson's war, when the CIA went in and funded the Mujahideen, Bin Laden himself to fight the Russian invasion.
Yeah, the Soviets.
They've done it in the past. It happened again. This time it happened, and these guys are brutal. These guys do not take no prisoners. So now you got to pay. So now you're fighting a war against the guys you funded because you were trying to get the other guy out. Assad's not a good guy. I'm not saying he's a saint.
Yeah, I'm saying Saddam Hussein wasn't a good guy either. They took him out. Look what happened to Iraq. That's
right. You know what I mean? These guys are not saints, but let's just say that things were much quieter and there was a whole lot less killing and stuff going on and bombing and civilians and refugees when they were in charge. It might not have been perfect, but going in and starting wars wasn't working. And the United States put Saddam in power back in the day.
Yeah. So the other thing I want to mention is all the weapons basically and most of the training either came from America or Russia. So without intervention, they might be having a little bit of a better time on there.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So Russia was supplying one side and the Americans were supplying the other side, and it was a what do they call that? Like a satellite war, right? It was yeah. Thank you. You know what I mean? So they were fighting a war without actually fighting a war. Well, guess what? Now you're in the war, and Russia are making more of a dent than anybody else. Are they doing it and they're doing it right? Well, maybe it's because they got less friends over there, so they can say we're gonna bomb that guy and that guy and that guy and that guy and that guy because he's our only buddy. You know what I mean? So where the States, they got all these little militias and kind of other things going on out there. So they're like, well, we can't bomb him and we can't bomb them, but we can bomb those Assad guys. Well, those Assad guys happen to be in the center of town where all your civilians are. You know what I mean? So the Russians are going around trying to wipe out the kind of like outlying areas where these guys are using like fuel stations and weapons caches and stuff like that. So I don't know. There's no good guy, bad guy in this stuff anymore. You know what I mean? There's nobody riding into the rescue. Everybody's got an agenda, and everybody's in there for their own agenda.
Yeah, it's not like the old traditional wars where you could say, hey, we're at war with Germany and Italy. No, it's just like, whoa.
You know what I mean? We're all fighting each other, and everybody's got a piece of the pie. France is in there. Well, we were having a discussion the other day. There's something like 27 countries trying to fight ISIS.
Like, well, they're all fighting different. Like, some of them aren't even fighting ISIS. Like, there's a bunch of different.
They all have different roles, but there's 27 countries that have bombed ISIS with missiles. 27 countries. Is like ISIS the best fighting force in the world?
No, you got like a tiny little. Here's what I don't get. Like half those countries in the Middle East have like way bigger armies than Canada can even imagine. So like, why can't they deal with this shit?
And here's the thing. The only reason it's still going on is because somebody still wants it to go on. Let's be honest. Either ISIS is the best fighting force ever brought on this earth, or it's still going on because people want it to keep going on.
I tend to agree with you there. I think.
Like, what's the other option, Sam?
Well, there's what's going on over there. My guess is as good as anybody else's. We only see what the media shows us, and we can come up with these perspectives as to what we think is going on. Okay. And I think it's a clusterfuck at this point, to be honest. And there's not really any point of being there. It's just these countries getting bombed and just people getting injured and dying, and it just needs to end.
Yeah. Okay. I'm with you on that. Like, I mean, I don't know. Are we like? If everybody
like, let's say Barack Obama really wanted ISIS gone, I'm pretty sure American military is more than enough to take them on.
Because it's not always about might, though. It's about strategy.
No, I get you. But do they really have to go there? Saudi Arabia is right there.
Yeah, that's what I mean. And they're doing fuck all.
Like, everybody's there. Like, can they not just...
They cried to Obama and said, oh, our allies are ditching us. So guess what? Obama, who campaigned on ending wars in the Middle East, sending boots to Syria and Iraq again.
Can they just not like get it together? That's why I said ISIS is like either the best fighting force in the world, or everybody else is just messing around.
Well, that goes to what you were saying about fixing your own house. There's so many problems going on in the United States of America. They don't know how to fix that. How the hell do they know how to fix the Middle East?
Well, they're fixing the whole world by themselves at this.
Team America.
Anyway, there's a lot of good Americans out there. I'm not bashing any Americans. I'm just talking about mostly about your government and how it wants to rule the world.
Foreign policy.
Yeah. So, boys, my laptop's about to die. It was great being on. We'll do it again sometime.
Thanks for coming on. Good perspective on things. Good to have a different perspective.
Excellent. So, a goodbye from the Bearded Wonder, and I'm signing off.
Cheers.
Keep it growing.
All right, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. We are past our 1 hour limit, and I need a beer.
No more comments on our conversation with Derek there. That's good to go there.
Yeah.
All right.
Great conversation.
I'd like to thank Derek again for coming on, and maybe at some point Byron will actually come on and chat with us.
If you'd like to be a guest on our show, tweet us at Fortier Bros. and we can make it happen.
Alrighty. Later.
Signing off.